In game 3, Kyrie Irving had 4 made threes. The Mavs, as a team, had a total of 9. Jared Greenberg caught up with Kyrie Irving before game 4.
What's been the mood here over the last few hours as you try and prepare for game 4?
As hard as it is, we just have to turn the page and wash our hands with what happened last night. It seems like we were just here 14, 15 hours ago, which we were. So it's still fresh, but we got to be able to turn the page and be ready to go against the Celtics team again.
You made history several years ago, becoming the first team to come back from down 3-1 in a series with Cleveland. Are you able to lean into that experience at all, being in the position you're in now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you never want to be in a position, like you said, down 3-0, history's kind of going against you. But this is the time where you go home, you find out about yourself a little bit more. It's really a pride thing now. We see that some of the games that we played against them have been pretty close in terms of the margin. So we feel like we can still get one game at a time.
How good did it feel for you the way you were able to play last night?
Obviously, when you look back at game 1 and 2, I wish I could have been in that same flow state. Some of my shots didn't drop as often as I would have liked, but this is all a learning experience for me. Still, even as one of the leaders on the team, even though I've been in this position. So now, game 4, we just have to be able to let our hands go and just play to win.
What is your message to Luka, who seemingly gets very frustrated in some moments?
I just talk to him pretty consistently about having his back and understanding that we're growing together. We're not going to ever play a perfect game, we understand that, but we do have to learn how to control our emotions in high-intense environments. And when you're on the final stage, everything's going to be exacerbated. Everybody's watching everything that you do.
Is there a discussion about the pride factor of not wanting to get swept?
Looking at the big picture, this is a great experience for us. A lot of first-timers, but now we have a chance tomorrow to at least extend our season, and that pride factor is going to be the most important thing.
So Kyrie Irving had more points in game 3 than he had in games 1 and 2 combined. And Jared Greenberg with an excellent question there, right? Because 8 years ago, Kyrie Irving and the Cleveland Cavaliers came back from being down 3-1, the only team in NBA Finals history to come back and win a series down 3-1. No team has ever come back from being down 3-0 in any NBA playoff series. So, Grant, when you have a guy like that with that kind of experience on your team, do you have more faith that anything is possible? Chuck's laughing at me. That's why I'm asking Grant and not Chuck.
Well, anything, I guess, is possible. And certainly, Dallas could come out and win this game here tonight. I don't think we're going to see what happened in that 2017 series where they were down 3-1 and came back and ultimately beat the Golden State Warriors in 7. But I do think Luka and Kyrie are going to play well. I think they're going to come out. I think they have pride. I think they're going to have big performances. I just don't think it's going to be enough, this team Dallas is just so good. They have so many weapons. They all defend. And really the key is going to be the other guys. P.J. Washington, he won some games for them, was the leading scorer in 2 or 3 games in the Oklahoma City series. He's been very quiet. Derrick Jones Jr., he hasn't done anything offensively. The lob threats that was part of their offensive attack, it really just been non-existent, the others, the complementary players. And so Luka and Kyrie, Boston's made them work for everything, really making tough shots. They can do that, but they can't do enough of that to win against this defensive team of Boston.
Well, Grant, you said it. I mean, I look at Gafford and Lively. Only 5 block shots, Chuck, between the two of them. And then also for me, they got to dominate on the glass. You got to have some kind of presence. We haven't said anything about those two guys. Derrick Jones Jr. was locking up guys. You got to lock up one of these guys. I mean, I think we're going to put a lot of pressure on Luka and Kyrie, but you need an entire team. The one thing I don't like about Dallas watching them in these games, I don't see the fight from the other guys. I don't see them trying to come out and do – I ain't seen nobody dive on the floor.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the little things, Chuck, from the other guys.
I forgot Lively was playing. I ain't going to lie. We talked about P.J. and Gafford. I forgot Lively because he played well last series. First of all, that 17 thing is one of the most overrated comebacks in history. If Draymond Green are not out there kicking people, the Warriors win that series. Come on, stop it.
2016.
Whatever. They wasn't coming back 3-1 unless Draymond gets suspended. So please, let's stop that. Listen, man, that experience, and LeBron ain't walking through that door. So, no, they're going to get swept or a gentleman's sweep going back to Boston. I think if the Celtics come out with great energy, this thing going to be over and it's going to be a beatdown. Because Dallas, they're tired, they're beaten up, they've lost their confidence. I don't see them having to fight to try to go back to Boston. So they're going to come out in the beginning, I think, with some fight. If Boston just meet their energy level, I think they're going to be resigned. They're like, you know what, it is over. That's just my personal opinion.
Well, we heard Chuck's personal opinion about what people were saying about Luka Doncic and his struggles on defense. Can you take us through exactly what was wrong with Luka's defense in Game 3?
Well, we're going to watch. I mean, the one thing about Luka, we all know he's not the greatest defensive player, but I think for him is he's got to get a little bit more effort. I think for him, he's standing too straight up and not being able to just communicate with himself. I think the one thing he's going to have to learn is, as a great player, you got to just show some effort. I think for him is he's so stuck, Chuck. It's funny watching him trying to play defense. He's one of these guys that got to come out. The hardest thing for him is just his body language for me, Grant, watching his body language. You don't have to be a great defender. But what I did say, Chuck, is I thought in that Minnesota series, he tried. And that's the one thing is, that's all you're going to ask for a guy that's not great defensively. When you try, I'm okay with it as a teammate. But when you don't, that's when it becomes a problem.
And my thing in defending Luka is, number one, he's not a great defender. But for guys on other networks to act like he's the only reason the Mavs down 3-0, first of all, he's the only reason the Mavs are here. And now listen, let's be honest, Kyrie only had one good game out of 3, so don't act like he's been playing great. And I don't want to mention Gafford, Lively, PJ, but part of being a star, you get all the credit, you get all the blame. But to act like Luka's the reason they're down 3-0, it's just total BS. And I'm not going to have that type of slander on a guy like that, because like I say, he's the only reason they are in the finals. Because they probably beat, who they played the Clippers the first round?
Clippers, OKC, Minnesota.
They probably the only team in the NBA who beat 2 teams they wasn't supposed to beat. Nobody picked them to beat Minnesota. And nobody picked, who they playing, OKC. OKC was favored. So give these guys their flowers. They're just getting beat by a better team. Like I say, Luka's not a great defender. But to act like, I was watching TV, these guys like, Luka Doncic is the worst defensive player and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he's got to get better. But let's don't come out here and act like all these other dudes on the Mavs been playing great.
And Chuck, to your point, first of all, we saw that graphic about his fourth quarter production in this series, and it hasn't been what we've seen from Luka. But I think part of it, I don't think he's in the conditioning.
Yeah, he got to get
right
in better
now.
shape.
And what I mean by that is, yes, he's not a great defensive guy. I did a few games in that Clippers series. I called 3 games in that OKC series. He actually played better defense than I'd ever seen him play. Times they were targeting him, he was able to slide his feet and do a good job. I thought Kyrie Irving has played good defense as well.
Agree with you.
I really thought that they had bought in. But when you go this far in the postseason.
And he's playing, listen, he definitely is hurt too.
He's hurting as well.
We have to factor that in. But also, I give the Celtics credit. Well, I'm going to give them credit for 2. Number one, they're attacking him. But also, they got, Cedric just said it. I don't like living in the moment. But Drew Holiday and Derek White are in the conversation as best defensive guards. Number 1 in the league. But I'm like, I can't even think in a great defensive guards tandem. But he's playing against 2. Then, not only that, they start out with Derek White on him and Drew. Then they bring Jason and Tatum. So, listen, man, he got a heavy workload. Like I say, I'm not going to defend this defense. He's got to get better. But all these fools on other networks talking about he's the reason they're down 3-0. That's total BS.
I think also not just the defense, but I thought in that game, in Game 3, he got too emotional. He got caught up with the officials and the frustration. And, you know, he's never fouled out a game. I think a couple of those fouls down the stretch were just frustration fouls. Like, I'm going to dare you to call a foul on me in those situations. Now, to his credit, I called Game 4 against Oklahoma City in the second round. They lost that game here on this floor, and Oklahoma City evened up the series. He was chirping every possession. He was caught up in the game with the officials. But to his credit, Game 5, he came out. He was locked in. He didn't get caught up in that noise and play great. So I'll be curious to see how he is with the officiating. Is he locked in? Is he just focused on the task at hand and not dealing with the officials?
I also think, Chuck, if you watch him in Grant, offensively, he can take some wear and tear off him. Just throw the ball ahead and go catch it because he's so good. I mean, why fight these great defenders 94 feet? Get in your offensive rhythm where you want it and go score. Let Kyrie come and bring it up against pressure.
I agree. And also, one thing I like about him, when he doesn't play good or they lose, he says, I got to play better. He never says, hey, why y'all mention me every time? We got some other guys, they get checks too. I always respect that. He never throws any of these other teammates under the bus. You have to admire that.
Yeah, Luka Doncic just made a half-court shot. Maybe that's a good sign for these Dallas Mavericks as they are trying to get their first win of these NBA Finals. You're watching Game Time here at the Finals, presented by YouTube TV.